My brother, 29, and sister-in-law, 29, asked Wednesday if they could come for a visit at that weekend. They 6 hours away. We said sure, love to see you. Friday afternoon, I, 34, had an ultrasound for my 8-week pregnancy. The ultrasound showed a likely miscarriage. My husband, 35, and I were upset, but as my bro and sister-in-law were already driving, we didn't cancel the visit. We hadn't told them about the pregnancy, nor had we told our 3 kids. When bro and sister-in-law arrived, they were excited to tell us sister-in-law is pregnant and due 2 weeks before I would have been due. I tried to sound excited and happy for them, but I wasn't as excited as I normally would have been. Then it turned into a nightmare. She didn't like supper. So we ordered in food for her. She needed the bed moved from one wall to another. Fine. She insisted on 5 pillows to sleep. I found a couple and she was upset I couldn't give her more and asked if she could go into the kids' rooms and take theirs. I said no. Next morning, she freaked out at 7 a.m. that the kids were eating cereal too loud. She spent the morning curled up on the couch complaining about morning sickness. I sympathized and said it's awful, but it will go away. She screamed, no, you've never experienced this, they gave me the same anti-nausea pills they give chemo patients, so shut up. I got quiet. My husband was making brunch and she freaked out that he was going to cook bacon because the smell makes me vomit. We didn't make bacon. She also didn't want us to make eggs or let the kids have syrup on their pancakes. I refused, so she stormed off into her room until mid-afternoon. Mid-afternoon she decides to go shopping and said they'd be back for dinner. We said dinner would be at 5:30. At 5:45 they hadn't show up and weren't replying to texts, so we ate. They showed up at 6 and she freaked out that we hadn't waited, so we ordered pizza. She spent the next 2 hours complaining about how brutal pregnancy is and how it's so hard and how she's never going through it again. I lost it and told her that I was in the middle of a miscarriage and I'd love to have her problems because it means my baby would be okay. Everything got quiet and she looked at me and said, I can't believe you'd use the miscarriage word around me. That's bad luck and if I lose the baby it's your fault. And went to her room and slammed the door. About 15 minutes later she said, I'm glad you lost your baby. You already have 3, and if you had 1 right now, you'd just be trying to upstage me. I'm glad your baby is dead. I burst into tears and my husband told her to get out. He said, I've watched you complain and whine all weekend. We stayed quiet about what was going on with us because we thought you deserved a chance to enjoy sharing your news. But this is enough. Get out now. She started screaming about how we are the idiot while my brother packed their stuff and they left. So, are my husband and I the idiot? Not the idiot. What the hell? The fact that you feel the need to ask this here says so much about the way your sister-in-law treated you. Obviously, sister-in-law didn't know you were suffering from your miscarriage until you told her, but that in no way excuses her behavior. If she knew you were pregnant, that just makes the whole story worse, because who the hell treats a pregnant woman that way? And the way sister-in-law reacted when you told her about your miscarriage just seals the whole thing. Why would sister-in-law need the bed moved from one wall to the other, and what does that have to do with being pregnant? I don't get it and would appreciate if someone could explain the legitimate reason, if there is one. By the way, sister-in-law was the idiot, even if this story ended at the 3rd paragraph, or 4th if you're being generous. If your pregnancy makes you so sensitive to all of these things, you shouldn't ask to stay with someone else, and maybe shouldn't stay with them, even if they invite you. Is there any chance she's not actually pregnant? Her comment that it would be your fault if she lost the baby was a red flag for me, like she's looking for a possible out down the road. I'm currently pregnant with my 5th, and while I definitely have easy pregnancies, I could never, ever understand treating other people this way, no matter what your symptoms may be. So, I'm at 29 and I've done pretty well in life. But I haven't found the right partner. I've been engaged before, but it didn't work out. When COVID hit, my parents and grandparents moved in with me. We're not from United States originally, so this is pretty well expected. My grandparents are not well. My mom quit her job to take care of my grandparents. I hired a live-in maid to take care of the house and help us care for my grandparents. It has always been my grandma's dearest wish to see my wedding and hold my kids in her arms. I haven't had contact with my dad's side since I was born, so these 3 people are everything to me. I didn't see anything on the horizon regarding a wedding, but I thought I could at least give them a great-grandchild. I'm an only child, so I always wanted a big family. I bought a house with that in mind too. So I ran by them the idea of a surrogate mother. They didn't like it, so I dropped it. But later they warmed to the idea and I started looking for candidates. I found the right person almost by accident. One of my close friends knew what I was doing and took the liberty of asking his acquaintance if she'd do it. She thought about it and agreed. I met her, liked what I saw, we went through checkups, lawyers, doctors, the works. I went to all her doctor's appointments, got all the treatments, helped her with groceries, anything she'd need. The day came, she gave birth to a beautiful boy. She asked to hold him and began to cry. She gave him up, I stayed with her until checkout, thanked her profusely. Then I went back home to care for my son. Couple of days later she calls me and asks to see him. I was kind of taken aback, but said no. The laws regarding parental rights were explained to us very thoroughly. She doesn't have any claims on the child. It's been 2 months and she hasn't stopped calling, asking me to see him. She showed up at my house, tried to guilt me through my friends. Some of them are saying, no harm in her seeing him sometimes. Am I the idiot here? Not the idiot. She made an agreement and you both have to stick to it. Sadly, it could be her pregnancy hormones, dealing with cutting off her milk supply, etc., pushing her to be inappropriate. But please don't go by what is written here, do not interact with her. Stop discussing with friends. Reach back out to the lawyer who was involved with setting everything up to make sure your agreement is solid and no loopholes. Maybe he could send a letter asking her to stop. You don't want this to escalate and turn into some strange court thing where she starts fighting you for custody. Unfortunately, you do read about things going wrong at times, especially when the child is bio to the surrogate. As long as you never agreed to something more similar to an open adoption, with regular updates and perhaps even visits and photos, you're doing nothing wrong here. Years ago, I considered hiring a surrogate through an agency. The owner of the agency explained to me that some surrogates ask for an arrangement where they will receive updates on the child, but only through the agency, not directly from the parents, and there were never any visits negotiated. Honestly, I think you're doing bio mom a favor by not allowing her to further bond with a child whom she will never raise. She bonded to the baby while pregnant, and letting her continue with that bond is a bad idea. She probably needs some help. She may even be grieving the loss of the baby. In my complete lack of psychology credentials opinion, she should seek therapy instead of seeking to hold the baby. If you want to offer her that help, that would make you awesome, but not responsible. If nothing else, a support group of her peers would help. So my son, 27, and stepdaughter, 26, recently revealed to me and my wife that they have been dating secretly all this time and that they're engaged and that they plan on getting married and starting a family. They also said that they did not tell us sooner because they were afraid of how I would react. My son and stepdaughter met when my son was 16 and she was 15. To be honest, something like this happening was a concern for me because they were both teenagers and wouldn't see each other as siblings, but they got along well, so I forgot about it. They said they started dating a few months after they met and have continued till now. I also know that both of they went colleges in 2 cities very far from each other, so they somehow still kept the relationship alive. When they were in college they would only meet whenever they came back for the holidays, and I remember that they both were more happy to see each other than us. All of this explains it. They would also go out together shopping or just to see the city alone. There were other instances which made a lot more sense now. They both live in a different city. My wife and I thought they lived separately, but they actually have been living together for 2 years now. I told them that I support them and that I understand why they did not want to tell us and that I am happy for them as long as they are happy. My wife, on the other hand, was a different story. She went completely ballistic. She started screaming that it's disgusting and that they're siblings. My stepdaughter started crying and my son just took her by the hand and left our home. Now my wife wants me to somehow convince them to break up and date other people. All I said was, they met when they were 16 and 15. They don't see each other as siblings. If we oppose this, they will hate us forever, and I'm sure that they would rather stop talking to us forever than break up. Even I am a little uncomfortable by this, but I understand, and there really isn't much I can do. I love my son and stepdaughter and I know they would disown us if we oppose this. My wife is angry now and hasn't really talked to me ever since this happened. Am I the idiot? They were teens and never saw each other as siblings, nor are they related by blood. And you are right. All that will come of your wife trying to break them up and stop them is that they will go no contact with her and she will never see them or any future grandchildren. And she will only have herself to blame. My dad had a cousin for whom it was reversed. Can't remember if it was the bride or groom that was related to us, but they got married and then one had a widowed father and the other had a widowed aunt, my dad's aunt, and the father and mother met and fell in love and then they ended up getting married. The kids were not happy because they said it made them suddenly feel like they were siblings, even though they weren't. To be honest, your wife's reaction is pretty typical of what they can expect from the wider world. The fact that they were dating while living as brother and sister under your roof is pretty distressing too. They are setting themselves up for a lifetime of disgust and disapproval. Of course, you love who you love and neither you nor your wife can really prevent them from doing what they want to do. You're probably right that they'd sooner disown you than break off their relationship. Though that doesn't say anything complimentary about your parenting. You're right in your conclusion, but I feel like your wife isn't wrong either. You are doing the right thing in my opinion. Kind of a strange situation on paper, but when considering they were teenagers when the parents got together, they were never at a sibling bonding age, as much as the mother would like for it to have been so. I think you are absolutely correct in the sense that they will cut you off if you try to stop the relationship, which is a long-term relationship which has stood the test of time. Your wife is probably entitled to feel a little rattled by it, but she will need to figure out quickly if her stance is worth her losing relationship with both her daughter and stepson. I, 33, have 2 kids, 10 and 9. Their father, 34, works in the morning so I make breakfast for them and he usually does dinner. We've established that. I usually come downstairs at around 6 to take care of the cat and dog and then make breakfast. Usually it's done by 6:30 and then I eat. If the kids want me to make their food they can either come down before I start eating or wait for me to be done, usually by 6:45. If not they can make themselves something, as they are more than old enough to. Today I made pancakes. Usually I don't make those before people come down because they like different things in them, banana, chocolate chips, blueberries. I left the batter covered in the fridge and started eating. 5 minutes after I started eating my 9-year-old came down and I told her there was pancake batter in the fridge if she wanted to make herself one and that there was fruit if she wanted to have something before I could make her a pancake. At this point my mother-in-law, who was visiting us, came downstairs and was very upset about this. She said that a 9-year-old should not have to make her own breakfast and that I was being negligent and irresponsible. I told her, if she thinks my daughter can't make her own food or can't wait 10 minutes for breakfast, she can make something for her. She got really mad at this and said she was a visitor and shouldn't be expected to take care of my children. She stormed out and my husband texted me asking what happened and said I should have handled it better. Am I the idiot for telling my daughter she can wait if she wants me to make her breakfast and telling my mother-in-law she can make something herself if that's a problem? Not the idiot. You are teaching your daughter a little independence. You obviously trust her enough in the kitchen that at 9 she can, and obviously has, made her own custom pancakes. That is good. And it is none of your mother-in-law's damn business how you run your household. You aren't the maid. You aren't the cook. You aren't her employee. She can stay in her lane and keep her mouth shut when she is a guest in somebody else's house. In the time you took to eat, your daughter would have taken her batter, prepped her fruit, turned on the stove. I doubt she would have done any actual cooking before you finished your breakfast. People getting upset about 9-year-old cooking pancakes haven't been taught cooking from a young age, haven't taught their kids cooking, or are privileged enough to have family around to do cooking for them or their kid growing up. If you come from a single working parent home or a home where you need to take care of yourself, you definitely know how to cook a pancake by the age of 9. As the parent of an 11-year-old and a 15-year-old, I'm laughing so hard at your mother-in-law. A 9-year-old can absolutely positively wait for you to finish eating or cook a pancake herself. Flipping pancakes is one of the first things I taught my kids to do on the stove after cooking eggs. And she won't expire of hunger while you eat your pancakes before they get cold. In my opinion, teaching independence is one of the greatest gifts we can give our children, and this was a very age-appropriate way to do it. My stepson Austin, 19, has a cousin, aged 14, who has a burn scar that covers his arm and neck. Austin picks on him constantly with hurtful comments. Some of the stuff he says is, "Are you still able to make friends looking like that?" Or, "How are you going to get a girl to go out with you when you're looking like that?" And more. It's infuriating because my wife, her family think this form of teasing is okay, since that's his cousin, but I couldn't handle sitting there watching Austin treat his cousin like that. I truly felt disgusted as I had a burn scar from a truck accident, but it's concealed so it's not the same, but it struck a nerve in me. Plus, my nephew-in-law clearly felt awful, but nobody cared enough to notice. I brought it with my wife and told her how I felt about Austin's blatant bullying, and she called me silly for using the word bullying. He's just teasing his cousin as in normal stuff between boys. I said I won't stay quiet next time he does it, and she shrugged me off. We were at my in-laws having dinner when Austin asked me to pass him the salad plate. His cousin was right next to him, so he tried passing the plate to Austin, but Austin got grossed out and yelled at him to not touch the plate with his burnt hand. I was stunned, and unexpectedly, no one said anything. I told Austin that what he was doing was wrong, that he would never look good by making someone else look bad, that's what bullies do, and he was being a bully. He was shocked and the family were quiet as I continued that if he thought doing this stuff will make him look superior, then that's a sorry state to be in, and it shows how it clearly reflects his own insecurities, and he should find a healthy outlet for these insecurities, instead of feeding his confidence off of people's unfortunate circumstances. I said his cousin has no control over his injury, but he on the other hand, has control over how he treats others. Austin couldn't even look at me, he got up and rushed upstairs, mother-in-law followed, after giving me nasty look. Dinner was awkward, and no one ate. My wife was highly upset saying Austin was just messing with his cousin, but I said all I saw was mistreatment and an offender getting away with it. She said still I shouldn't have called him a bully to his face, and in front of everyone then double down and say he has insecurities. She stated just like her family, Austin was shocked, taken by surprise, and won't be blamed for no longer seeing me the same. And that since he apologized to his cousin then it's my turn to apologize to him, but I said I won't. They're both sulking. His behavior is unacceptable and he clearly needed to be called out on it. The fact he ran away embarrassed tells me he knows what he's doing is wrong deep down, but nobody's ever called him on it, so he'll just keep doing it. He's a full-grown adult, he should know it's never gonna be a good look for him to behave like that. Especially towards a child, related or not. In my opinion, calling him out in front of everyone was absolutely the right thing to do and you shouldn't apologize. If done correctly and for the right reasons, public shame and embarrassment is an effective teaching tool to correct bad behavior. It creates a negative reinforcement by associating those unexpected feelings of embarrassment with a corrective action. The next time he thinks about doing it again, he'll immediately remember how he felt at dinner and what you said to make him feel that way. Your in-laws seem to be writing this off as crap talk, but let's pretend for a second that this wasn't about one-sidedly mocking an injury or insecurity. Even then, in what world is it okay for a 19-year-old to tease a 14-year-old? Your family has been enabling him for far too long. Also, have to question where the hell your cousin's parents were in all of this. As for your wife, you did exactly what you said you would do, she doesn't have a leg to stand on.